The unanimously adopted resolution was drafted by Britain. It made it clear that Libya's future unity government should be the country's only representative.
Most Libyans, and most likely all Libyans, understand that this agreement has resulted following 14 months of very difficult negotiations, and that this is the only hope for the restoration of the authority of state and to ensure that Libya doesn't disappear as a unified sovereign state. This agreement is the only hope for emerging from chaos and putting an end to bloodshed, the only hope we have to ensure reconciliation and understanding, to ensure that justice and the rule of law prevails following years and years of atrocities, of fear and insecurity both inside the country and outside, with Libyans as refugees and displaced individuals.
4 years after Muammar Gaddafi's fall, Libya is deeply fractured, with a self-declared government in Tripoli and an internationally recognized one in the east, each backed by coalitions of former rebels and militias. Some members of the Libyan factions reject the peace deal. UN diplomats and officials say that they are worried that the precarious agreement in Libya could fall apart in coming days or weeks.
With the agreement now signed, now is the moment for all member states to cease support to and official contact with any parallel Libyan institutions outside of the agreement that claim to be the legitimate authority. Doing so is essential to maintaining the integrity and unity of Libyan state institutions, including state financial institutions and the National Oil Company.
The resolution said the Council welcomed the formation of a so-called Presidency Council in Libya and urged it to form a unity government within 30 days. The chiefs of the two rival parliaments already have rejected the UN deal and wanted for more time to negotiate a Libyan initiative, though diplomats say both men could face international sanctions for blocking a vote on the agreement. Catherine Ogunde, CCTV.
Right now, let's get more views and analysis on this story. CCTV's Liling Tan has the latest from the UN headquarters in New York, while Yasser Hakim joins us with some regional perspectives from Cairo, Egypt. Liling, what is the anticipated impact of this resolution on Libya?
Well, in terms of the anticipated impact from this Security Council resolution alone, that would be quite limited, because this is essentially just a symbolic gesture through an official resolution that endorses that peace deal that was signed on December 17 in Morocco between the two opposing sides in the Libyan conflict. Now, the onus does remain on the Libyan parties involved who sign on to that peace deal to move forward, follow through with their promises and commitments to implement the steps towards forming that unity government to share power between the opposing sides. Now, what this resolution does is it adds weight to that peace deal because it's unanimously backed by all 15 members of the Security Council. It puts pressure on the Libyan parties involved to follow through with its commitments in the political process, to address the political vacuum and also security issues, especially ISIL's growing presence in Libya. And it also lends support to the unity government, to the Libyan leadership, to put in place the political process and also security, to address the security issues. Now, what this resolution does not do, and what it isn't, is a kind of resolution that calls or permits for foreign intervention, such as airstrikes that could target the Islamic State, areas held by the Islamic State. That would require a request or an invite from the Libyan leadership or a specific UN mandate under a specific resolution, and this is not what that is.
Now, Yasser Hakim, turning to you, just talk us through how this deal and its endorsement by the UN Security Council is being viewed both in Egypt and the region at large.
Yes, Egypt has officially welcomed the deal, and it said that this deal will help or go a long way in helping to retain stability, political stability in Libya, and also to help fight terrorism and ISIL in Libya. Egypt in particular, with Tunisia, are two border countries that have been suffering from the spate of violence in Libya, as it has infiltrated militants through the borders towards Egypt or towards Libya, and also Egyptians expats have been targeted by the ISIL and other extremist groups in Libya. So Egypt has seen this as a breakthrough in what it means that there will be one political entity to deal with when there are efforts, whether political or military efforts, against terrorism in the region.
Now, Liline, coming back to you in New York, of course, there does seem to be persistent divisions among these Libyan factions in spite of their leaders signing this new deal. Is there now confidence among the Security Council members that this deal will indeed hold? And if not, do they have an alternative plan?
Well, that is a good question indeed. Publicly, the Security Council and ambassadors here at the UN have hailed this deal as a breakthrough deal, a historic and important step for the Libyan people. The U.S. ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, said as much and said that the U.S. will work closely with the Libyan leadership to implement this peace deal and also work closely with them to fight terrorism. Now, we heard earlier from the UK ambassador Matthew Rycroft, and he too welcomed the unanimous vote from the Security Council. He welcomed the peace deal and said that the door remains open for those Libyan parties who have not yet embraced the peace deal to do so. In fact, he was echoing the words of the the UN Special Envoy Martin Kobler, who said that the door also remains open for those who have opposed the deal and are ready to join that. Now, privately, however, there remains some very serious concerns about whether this peace deal can hold or that it could collapse over the next few days or weeks, because this is still, after all, a very fragile peace agreement in a very complex conflict. And remember that this agreement, although it has been hailed as a breakthrough and a historic step, less than half of the members from the opposing governments have signed on to the deal. So still very fragile. Publicly, optimism we're seeing here publicly, but privately there remain some serious concerns.
And finally, turning back to you, Yasser, in Cairo, Libya's representatives were, of course, categorical that while welcoming the Security Council's endorsement of this deal, that they were vehemently opposed to any international military intervention against ISIL. Of course, this is contrary to Egypt's earlier push for an external force. So do we expect a change of stance from Cairo?
Not really. I think Cairo is really pushing again for military or airstrikes, but in coordination with the Libyan forces. Already Egypt has been calling for military airstrikes and has already done some military airstrikes itself at the beginning of 2015. But throughout the year, Egypt has also been offering training and equipment and also logistical and intelligence support to the Libyan army led by Haftar, who is the legitimate and internationally recognized parliament and leadership. And Egypt has continuously been in touch with Italy in particular, and lately Russia as well, to try to forge some kind of military agreement or cooperation on how to deal with the threat of terrorism coming up from Libya. Europe will be affected, obviously, because of the close, easy access from Libya to European shores. And this could be a threat to Europe as well, but also to Egypt because of the borders, and Tunisia on the other side. So I think Egypt will continue to work with the Libyan allies, the legitimately accepted parliament and forces, and with international forces, to try to also forge some kind of coalition and get an acceptance from the Libyan forces to request airstrikes or military support. Obviously, Egypt has also been calling for the lifting of UN arms embargo on Libya and on the Libyan army, and I think it will continue also to call for the lifting of the UN arms embargo there.
Right, Liling Tan and Yasser Hakim, thank you very much for joining us on Africa Live from New York and Cairo, respectively.